Ted Gelt, philanthropist, religious scholar, respected tax attorney, dedicated teacher, loving husband, proud father, even prouder grandfather, and rock and roll star? Ted Gelt was born at Rose Hospital in Denver to the joy of his proud parents Lou and Betty. Together with sisters Peggy and Judith, Ted was raised in a loving household in Park Hill. From as young as he could remember, Ted always wanted to be a lawyer like his dad. His career ambitions were temporarily sidetracked by a sudden desire to become a cowboy. However, when he realized Hopalong Cassidy was merely a nickname and Hopalong actually rode a horse, this dream was quickly dashed. In high school, Ted became quite the trendsetter, or so he thought. Sadly, he was a little bit ahead of his time with the skinny jeans look.
I got my tight pants on.
Lemon tree, very pretty, and the lemon flower is sweet.
Another trend Ted attempted to start that never quite took hold was eating entire lemons on purpose. His childhood best friend Bob Rondeau claims that this was a talent that should have portended Ted's future, because anyone who could stand eating lemons could surely stand a career studying tax law. In college, Ted strayed once more to a different career ambition when he and his buddies formed a rock and roll band aptly named Love Special Delivery. Although the name connotes otherwise, we've been assured that Ted never inhaled.
And when he started in high school, they practiced in our basement. And occasionally he would do something so magnanimous. One time, I had this dream that nobody knew about, that I wanted to be a singer for the longest time. And I had the gumption once to ask if I could sing with the band. And I don't know why they said yes. I don't know if they were planning to just make fun of me but they let me do it. He let me do it. And I sang a song with the band in the basement. I still remember how amazing that felt. And it was because he had that in him, you know. He loved me. And it'll still live on in my memory as this glorious moment in time.
To the dismay of adoring female fans, the band split up after college. Thwarted once again in his dubious career choices, Ted decided once and for all to follow in his father's footsteps and become a lawyer. Since Ted's focus during the early part of his college career was rock and roll gigs until the wee hours of the morning, his grades understandably, suffered. So his law school options were limited. He was waitlisted at DU Law. But one school did decide to take a chance on Ted, the John Marshall Law School. Knowing that he wanted to practice law in Colorado, Ted double and triple checked with the Colorado Supreme Court to confirm that John Marshall was indeed an accredited law school, and they assured him over and over again that it was. So Ted set out to attend the John Marshall Law School in Atlanta. From the looks of the dilapidated building, Ted knew immediately that this John Marshall Law School was not the accredited John Marshall Law School. He made a panicked call to the Colorado Supreme Court, and they quickly confirmed his mistake. 2 days before school was to start, Ted received a call from the University of Denver, letting him know he was off the wait list, with the only caveat being that he must arrive in time for his first class at 9 a.m. He hastily packed all of his belongings and rushed across country, arriving in Denver just in time for his first class with Professor Thompson Marsh. As luck would have it, Professor Marsh pulled Ted's card that morning, and Ted did not know the answer. So he received the dreaded black mark. He never made that mistake again. Ted met Craig Fleischman his first day of class and learned that he too had been admitted last minute to the law school. They decided then and there that they should practice law together. It only took another 12 years after graduation to make it happen.
And I'm in my kitchen on the phone with Ted. And Ted said, "What do you think about a name?" I said, "I got a great idea for a name for the firm." He said, "What's that?" I said, "Fleischman and Gelt." And he said, "You know what? I have a great idea for the name of our firm, Gelt and Fleischman." So I put my hand in my pocket and I pulled out a quarter and I said to him on the phone, "Call it in the air." I flipped the coin and he called heads and it landed on the floor and it was a head. And I said, "Ted, I want you to know that you will always be able to trust me. Based on what just happened, it was a head, and the name of the firm will be Gelt and Fleischman."
At DU, Ted was very fickle about the type of law he wanted to practice. He kept zigzagging between different practice areas depending on what class he was taking at the time. However, once he took basic tax and figured out that taxes pervaded all areas of law, he was hooked. Ted loved tax law so much that he continued on to NYU for his LLM. He did so well there that his favorite professor, M. Carr Ferguson, offered him a teaching job at NYU. But Ted opted to escape the rough and tumble of the big city and return to the mellow and beautiful West. When Ted returned to Denver, he resumed his work at Adler, Zoll & Halligman, where he had clerked during law school. Ted remembers this time fondly, and he considers both Larry Adler and his father, Noah Adler, as two of his biggest mentors. In fact, Noah Adler is the reason Ted wears bow ties. Ted also began teaching in the brand new graduate tax program at DU. He has continued to teach for almost 40 years.
For teaching almost 4 decades, Ted teaches with patience, he teaches with high energy, and he teaches with good humor. And he does all this at the same time while he maintains a very demanding and vibrant tax practice.
Now forget those silly TED Talks you're always hearing about. If you truly want to learn, there is only one TED.
So in the practice of law, no matter the size of the firm, big, small, doesn't matter, everybody needs a TED. Everyone needs a TED who serves as that mentor, who serves as that support, and who encourages you to grow professionally, whether it's in the practice, sending you scholarly articles to read, or to really give you confidence in the material and advising clients. And so I think Ted's greatest strength is being Ted.
But Ted's life hasn't been just about the tax code, thank goodness.
Ted and I ended up taking a class, a Judaic Studies class, a couple of weeks later, and I went up and I introduced myself to him. And about a week later or so, he asked me out, and about a year later, he asked me to marry him. And we've been married for 21 fabulous years.
Together, Ted and Sharon share an interest in Torah study and Judaic learning. They love to travel, taking trips to Hawaii, Breckenridge, and to New York, where they visit Ted's daughter Sarah, her husband Danuka, and their children Sawyer and Oliver. Danuka is an algorithmic trader, and Sarah also works part-time as a nonprofit recruiter. Sarah says that while her father possesses many fine qualities, cooking is not one of them. One of her favorite childhood memories is of his famous, quote, blackened grilled cheese sandwiches, close quote. Ted also enjoys spending time with his son Tim, who manages media relations for the Denver Nuggets. In fact, Tim credits Ted and Sharon for his dream career. On his 16th birthday, they bought Tim the gift of a lifetime, a road trip with the Nuggets. An early riser. A typical day in Ted's life includes religious studies and teaching, then off to working out, then off to practicing law at Baker Hostetler, then off to teaching at DU's graduate tax program, then Whew. He returns home to fabulous gourmet meals cooked by his wife Sharon. Then, off he goes again to his religious studies in the evening. Despite his dizzying schedule, Ted and Sharon attend many fundraising events and celebration dinners. Their charitable activities are varied and substantial. Whether it's Ted Gelt, the philanthropist, the religious scholar, the respected tax attorney, the dedicated teacher, the loving family man, or the rock and roll star, there is no doubt that our Ted is the best. Please join us in congratulating this year's recipient of the Thompson G. Marsh Award, Ted Gelt.